And I especially want to remember two very wonderful human rights activists who Amnesty International has been working on. I want to recognize Shadi Sadr. Shadi Sadr is a very courageous women's rights activist, a human rights lawyer who's represented a number of people who've been sentenced to be executed in Iran, which is the second largest executor in the world behind China. Shadi Sadr was arrested a week ago Friday. She was walking to Friday prayers with her friends, and she was set upon by plainclothes Basij. She was beaten and sent off to Evin prison, which is a notorious prison where political prisoners have been tortured and mistreated. I also want to recognize Abdel Fattah Soltani, who's also been detained in Iran. He's a very prominent human rights lawyer and an associate of Nobel Prize laureate Shirin Ebadi. He's been detained, and we're very fearful that he and many others like him are being tortured in detention. Certainly we've seen that many people have been forced to make confessions on state-run TV, confessions which can be used against them if they're charged with serious crimes, which could result in the death penalty. So today we stand in solidarity with our friends in Iran. We want everyone in Iran to know that we're thinking of them today, millions of people around the world.
A grossly violent crackdown by the Iranian government, and to show our support for the Iranian people as they struggle for democracy, freedom, and human rights. My name is Hermin Valizadeh. I am Iranian, and I'm an attorney. As a woman, I've taken a particular interest in the extraordinary role of women have taken in the protests over the last several weeks. Thousands have marched in demonstrations, often showing a wider presence than men. We've seen the images of these brave women from YouTube and news sources. We've seen the brutal and targeted murder of Nena on video. We've seen women beaten by government agents on film only to stand right back up and continue protesting. Indeed, the deliberate and targeted crackdown on women has only added fuel to their fire and exploded their strength. Yes, what we're seeing in Iran is women taking a pivotal road towards change, a need for change that has been brewing for years, maybe even decades. As one Iranian woman states, we are all angry, ready to explode. We scream out to let the world hear our voice. I want the world to know that as a woman in this country, I have no freedom.
Violence cannot ensure national security. Batons and handcuffs might scare people into submission in the short run, but can never win their hearts and minds. This week, the person who gave that first account I told you about earlier said, "The world must know this, that we, the Iranian People's Movement, will not stop until we succeed. Iran's future belongs to the Iranian people," he said, "but he and many other Iranians want the world to stand in solidarity with their cause." And that's what we and people in more than 100 cities around the world are doing today. So let's continue to participate in events like this and letter-writing campaigns to Iranian officials. And in the media, let's keep this story alive.
Let me first begin with one message for the international community, and then I get to the gist of what I want to say as quickly as possible to not to get you bored. To the international community, through Amnesty and through all international human rights organizations, we want them to help us, support us, stand up with the Iranian people until such a day that democracy rules Iran. We need their help, and we know they will support us.
In the meantime, friends, we call on all Iranians in the diaspora to continue to stand in support of the protesters and in support of all dissidents in Iran. We call on you to demand the release of all political prisoners and everyone who is unjustly incarcerated in Iran. And we call for the resignations of all the top officials responsible for the recent repression. Let's work together for a new day in Iran with civil liberties, women's rights, and social justice.
As you all know, the issues in Iran are not regarding electoral fraud. are not regarding elections anymore. The people's movement in Iran has progressed and has made new inroads. And now the issues that exist in Iran are the issues of human rights, the issue of civil liberties, the issue of democracy, the issue of freedom, freedom of speech, which is so important, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom to get out of your house, be able to protest, demand your rights without being harassed or imprisoned. These are fundamental tenets of human rights.